Here's the story of a lovely caster.
Hello and welcome to the Witch of the Woods update show. I'm Titan Isaiah, your host for today, and our show is just packed with awesome stuff for you all. We've got balance, a ton of awesome skins, and the reveal of our newest goddess, Baba Yaga. We're super excited, so if we seem a bit more animated than usual, that's why. We're gonna go ahead and kick things off with bonus balance, and here to break things down with me are Ajax and Pond from the design team. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Good to see you.
Yep, doing pretty well.
Awesome. So let's get right into bonus balance that's going to be live next week on April 7th. No items this go around, so we're going to start off with gods, and Camazotz is up first. Screech is going to be seeing a decrease in the physical power buff from Echo.
So what we've done with bonus balance is, since there was a little bit of confusion and people wondering what qualifies as bonus balance, what doesn't, we're trying to pivot it towards being specifically those meta god nerfs, the things that we feel like people are most anxious to have. Like, people generally want us to act quickly and balance in this specific realm. So for this patch, we're going to be doing only meta god nerfs as the bonus balance. And we're also, Isaiah and his team are working on a lot of ways to better clarify and better show and display what types of balance is going to be launching at what days, and I really appreciate you for that. But from the design team, we wanted to approach it well as well in a little more categorical sense. So that's why you're going to see this bonus balance be a little smaller here, and that's why it is specifically only top played, top picked gods being nerfed.
For sure.
So Camazotz, we saw him get buffed a little while back. We buffed the leap range as well as some other effects, and we've already reverted those other effects, and he's still like an absolute powerhouse in specifically high MMR ranked solo lane and pro play. So now we're reverting him just a little further to make up for how much power that leap range really did. That really had huge effects on Pawn.
Yeah, that definitely does. That changes like the scaling on his 2. It changes the scaling on his heal. Like, that's a big deal that's going to be changing. There's just a lot that this power like augments that is going to just take the edge off of him in the laning phase, take the edge off when you're trying to actually box him in the solo lane.
Next up, we've got Kukulkan, a guy that's been kind of resilient to the nerfs that we've kind of been giving him over the past couple patches. We're going to be making some adjustments to Slipstream. We're increasing the cooldown, and we're also decreasing the slow immunity period.
Yeah, Slipstream is one of those abilities that I think for a really long time people were like, oh, it's just a movement ability, but the amount of distance it lets Cuckoo cover, the amount of speed he immediately gets, his ability to close in and get like a one-off on a target, and also the slow immunity that persisted afterwards really allowed him to be slippery and slip right through team fights. So we're just increasing the cooldown on that so players have more opportunities to play around it, especially in the late game, and the slow immunity is being reduced so that you actually can jump on him more quickly with slows and actually slow him down some.
We know some people out there are getting a little fatigued with Kukulkan nerfs. We really did buff him a very large amount through those changes a few months ago, so we're still working to get him back to a good point of balance. Seems like the god's still performing way better than he has historically. He's been pretty resilient to the nerfs, but it is starting to make a statistical impact. Last round of changes did make a pretty good statistical impact. Hopefully this will be the last one we have to touch on him for a little while.
Definitely. All right, next up on the list for bonus balance gods, we've got Persephone. She got a shift in the last update, and we got a lot of community feedback that it actually felt like it was actually a buff. So we're going to be making some changes to Grasp of Death, and we're going to reduce the projectile speed on her ultimate ability.
Yeah, so Persephone in that shift, we saw players essentially be able to use the plants more effectively. That was like the big change, and we did a few nerfs to also tone down some of the damage it did, as well as the damage of the ultimate. After seeing all the numbers and seeing how people are playing with it, it does look like she got a little bit better overall, which is what we were going for. That's what we wanted for the shift, where she was a bit more manageable for players. The kind of complexity and clunkiness of placing plants and utilizing them has been removed. And so with that, we want to make one more adjustment to her ultimate where it's just really fast. It's sometimes difficult to avoid. We're going to slow it down some so you have more opportunity to react to it coming towards you. If it flies past you, you can get away from the wall that it might collide with a bit. You can get more distance before it actually collides. Just making sure that players have more opportunity to play around the ultimate.
Really, we just want to make it clear we are open to nerfing Persephone. We know that her statistics are on the lower end, but we know that's also because she's difficult. She's incredibly strong at high MMR and at pro play. We're really trying to make sure we balance her for all skill levels. So we're open to nerfing her. I think this is going to be a pretty impactful nerf, especially at those high skill levels.
Awesome. All right, and then last up on the list for gods in bonus balance is Yamoja. Yamoja is going to be seeing a nerf to Bouncing Bubble. We're decreasing the magical power scaling, and we are adjusting the slow duration, decreasing that a little bit on that ability. Moonstrike, we're decreasing the magical power scaling on the inner damage. And Mending Waters, we are decreasing the magical power scaling on the heal and decreasing the magical power scaling on the shield.
Yeah, so a lot of kind of like bruisery nerfs, but this does affect support Umoja as well. Just in general, the ability for her to actually throw out a lot of bubble and moon strikes, the ability for her to throw out a lot of the healing and shielding from Mending Waters. Even though she doesn't necessarily build that much power even in the support role, she is getting it from her boots in a lot of cases. She often builds at least one bruiser item. And so this is going to just reduce that time when you're like, if she lands a good stun lock on you, or if she gets a whole bunch of healing out in the team fight, it's just going to be reduced from what it currently is. And the slow adjustment on the bubble also is going to decrease her ability to confirm that follow-up stun chain.
Yamoja, people felt like we kind of missed an opportunity to nerf her last update. The character has been responding well to the nerfs, just approaching a better point statistically, but we heard a lot of feedback about the character still being really strong. So, as Pon kind of mentioned, we really strived in this nerf to make sure we adjusted all the different playstyles that Yamoja has. We wanted to make sure she was still nerfed slightly. Even if you're building full support Yamoja, you get a little bit of a nerf here. If you're playing more of a mage Yamoja, you're going to see a larger nerf here.
All right, well, that wraps it up for Bonus Balance that's coming your way next week on April 7th. So now that we've got Bonus Balance changes done, I want to give you guys your first look at all the skins that are coming your way next week. And we're going to kick things off with Murder of Crows Sobek. And this one is looking super awesome.
Love this. Shout outs to Wolfdog Art for providing this concept.
That's so cool.
This has been one that's kind of been floating around in the community for a long time. So we're super excited. We love working with Wolfdog and just the details and stuff that the art team put into the feathers. He's really looking really creepy.
Also not pictured here, when Sobek's passive triggered, he kind of gets additional armor, like magical glowing armor on him, and there's like a kind of a new armor set on the skin as well. It's pretty cool.
Nice, that's going to be awesome. So this is heading your way in part 2 of Chapter 1 of the Grim Omens event. So we're moving right along to the second skin from Chapter 1 of Grim Omens that we're going to be looking at today. And that's going to be the Goat Kernan.
Frisbee!
Oh my gosh.
And he is stylish.
Does he actually throw it as a basic attack?
Yes. It's finally a Frisbee skin. I don't know if the Smite universe knows this, but I've been playing Ultimate Frisbee for 10, 15 years. I started the Ultimate Frisbee game at Hi-Rez Studios, where we have 10 to 20 developers playing Frisbee every week, and I'm so stoked for this.
Yeah, this one is looking awesome. This is another addition to our Smitetropolis universe. Shout out to Inna Bunch for creating the initial art and the theme for us. And I love these skins because they give a modern day take on all the gods and gives them a new personality. It's really fun.
Yeah, there's so many like little background bits in the card
I
art.
do see Anubis. And Kernanos is assuming a little bit more of a hipster vibe, in the universe. Like Thoth was a geek and Anubis was a jock, and then here we have Kernanos. He's going to be a little bit more of your hipster, or even maybe a hippie, depending on where you draw the line.
He is definitely the GOAT, as the skin is aptly named for that. And speaking of Chapter 1 of the Grim Omens event, we want to remind you guys about MedTech Aphrodite, the chapter reward for Chapter 1. If you unlock all 6 skins in the Chapter 1 chest, you get this skin for free.
Yeah, also to be noted, if you did the buy all, you will get this skin at April 7th. That's going to be the way we're doing the rewards going forward. You won't get the individual chapter rewards right away, but you will get them as soon as they launch. This skin, we really pushed ourselves to make some more radical changes to Aphrodite's armor and add more assets to her art and to her silhouette, because we've been getting that feedback. I think people are really excited for it.
Yeah, this one's going to be super awesome. Well, that wraps things up for Grim Omens Chapter 1. We're moving right along, and next up we've got Knight of Storms, Susanna.
Oh my gosh, he looks so good.
This one's amazing. The model is like better than the... no, not better. They're both amazing, of course, but just the model turned out so well. It fits Susanoo so well. He's like the bold, daring adventurer, and it gives him such a unique take from his other skins and his feel. I love this one.
Did he just win a bar fight?
Yeah, I know, right? His outfit is like super fire. I wanna play the game that he is the main character of.
Right. It does look like he did just in this card art. He just won the bar fight. There's the people behind him that are like, oof, shouldn't have fought that guy.
Yeah,
He's got some coin for it.
Yeah, and he's like, hey, I'll buy you a drink.
Exactly, yeah. Just buy you a drink with the money I just stole from you. So this one's going to be available April 7th in the Sword Hero chest. And we've got one more skin that we want to talk about that's heading your way next week, and that is Pharaoh's Curse Cabrakan.
Oh yeah, big community win here. Shoutouts to Rob Draws for the concept. Players really showed up and upvoted this skin into the stratosphere. And cross Pantheon skins can be a little tricky to execute, but Cabrakan with his giant shields turning into a sarcophagus just made a really strong connection for the Egyptian crossover. So I'm loving how this skin turned out.
My favorite Kali and Chalk skins are actually the Norse Viking crossover event, and so like these Egyptian crossover, like the Izanami skin as well. I love this theme.
Yeah, I love when we get to kind of reimagine like characters that have been in the Smite universe for a long time into a different pantheon.
And it looks like this is going to be in the crossover chest, well named, that's for sure.
Definitely. Kind of a hint back to the Egyptian mythology available in the crossover chest coming your way on April 7th. So that wraps it up for all the skins coming out in the 7.3 bonus update, as we're calling it now. But we've got some community and esports news that we want to talk about too. If you guys missed it, I'm not sure how you missed it, but we had a birthday last week and we are still partying. Lots of stuff going on in game.
Every day, a new free reward, right?
Yes, so we've got lots of community created avatars and jump stamps. All you have to do is log in and play a game and you get those rewards for free. Every day there's a different reward, but if you miss a day, then you miss the reward. So be sure to log in and keep playing those games. All right, and then the last thing we have up for you guys is the SPL start date. It got announced a couple weekends ago. As you guys know, we had to push things back a little bit just due to the concerns of COVID-19, and we held off because we wanted to make sure that all of our players and staff remained safe. But SPL is now kicking off on April 4th, and we're actually kicking the season off for the first few weeks with online play. So same SPL, but the players are going to be playing from home. Be sure to head over to the Esports and Live Streams Hub to lock in your votes to get those viewer points. And if you want to check out the schedule, you can head over to our new fancy Smite Pro League website. I know it's been a long time coming. Players have been wanting a new website, and it is super awesome. So head over to smiteproleague.com for all of your SPL info.
Cannot wait. Finally.
I know, right? I've been fiending for some esports, and the SEC and SOC have been holding me over for a little bit, but there's nothing like the SPL, so we're super excited.
Those have been really fun to watch, honestly. Yep. I'm really enjoying them. And the voting page on the new esports tab is amazing. I love how you can see how people are voting. You can kind of see who the favorites are. Maybe we'll have some upsets. Kick off the season, you never really know who's going to have the meta figured out. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, I'm pumped to see how things pan out in our first professional sets of the season. So that wraps it up for community and esports news. We've still got a whole lot of show left for you guys. We'll be right back after this break.
Oh my God.
Time for some fun!
Am I starting to look handsome?
Looking good. That's rather fetching, don't you think?
Look at the little girly man.
Where are you going? Stick around.
Your time has come. Just you and me.
There's my light, dressed every day. His well-known eyes makes me, oh my God. How come I've never felt like this until his kiss, singing, oh my God.
Welcome back, everybody. Dream Deities headed your way soon on the Ouya. Make sure to check that out. You would be an absolute fool not to. I don't know about you guys, but I am definitely ready to ooh-woo on the Ouya. So we're going to kick things off with the Witch of the Woods update with some Project Olympus updates. What do we got, AJ?
So the good things that everyone's going to really notice right now is that clans have been disabled. We're doing this to reduce a lot of stress on Smite's backend servers. There's a lot of processes that are running with notifying people when their clanmates are logging on, logging off, queuing up, things like that. Just taking all of that away temporarily is really helping with the high influx of players we're having due to everyone being, staying home. We're also going to be adjusting certain queue times, so you might see queues go up or down a minute or two. It's being done so that queues don't all fire at once. We adjusted this matchmaking to a timed queue system. This is done to improve matchmaking and to give players a little bit more consistency, but it does cause tons of matches to fire all at once, which is really tough on our servers, so we're adjusting that. There's a lot of other things we did. Isaiah wrote up a really nice post about it on Reddit, where people can go read more, right?
Yes, I wrote up a post a couple days ago. It's still pinned on the front page of Reddit right there at the top. If you guys want more information on what we've done to kind of help ease strain on servers and plans that we have moving forward, our ops team is continually monitoring things and they're working around the clock to make sure that we get things stable for you guys.
It's been a tricky time right now for everyone, that's for sure. So thank you for your patience through all this.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, let's get moving right along to Project Olympus. With the launch of 7.4, we've got some improved anti-toxicity measures headed your way.
Yeah, I've been working with the design team a lot, specifically High Res Fish, and then Ponpon's been helping out as well. We really want to continue to improve Smite's behavior policies. The first thing we're doing right now is we're increasing the punishments for hate speech or real life threats. First time offenders are now going to be, if you're confirmed by support, so this means you'll be manually reviewed by one of our support employees. They will be dishing out 7-day bans for the first offense and perma bans for repeat offenses. Those used to be a little too soft. I think we really need to be tougher on people there. This type of language is just not what we want in the game. If you're going to talk like that, don't play Smite. It's that simple.
Definitely.
We're also doing some more tech improvements to make sure we can find players who are causing problems. We're improving the automated detection of players who AFK as well as intentional feeders. All of this is to help the support team make sure they can find the information they need when they're investigating an account. Sometimes these gameplay things can be difficult to judge, and it takes a lot of time for a support member to go look at them individually. So we're just improving the tools they have on the back end to have the right data they need to find these people.
For sure. All right, next up, esports and live streams. We're going to be adding some progress tracking and a notification for the weekly points reset.
Yeah, this is going to help you keep track of how close you are to earning your cap of points for the week, and it sounds like when it's going to notify you when the points reset for the week.
All right, next up, we're going to be doing some changes to the Learn tab. We're actually revising a bunch of videos and streamlining them for an entirely new set.
Yeah, this is a big one. We are doing this the company-wide, and of course we, funny enough, we were working through it on the Paladins team was working through it, and everyone on Smite was like, oh my gosh, we need that. Why don't we have that? And the answer is we're getting it really, really soon. We were right after them. No big deal, nothing to worry about. But yeah, all those videos like you kind of saw on the Paladins team, I know that a lot have been discussing it out in the Smite community. All that stuff is coming to Smite. It's going to be coming in throughout the PTS time. So expect those videos to stream in a little one at a time as we upload them, or and it's getting tricky working from home and uploading this update. Maybe some of the videos might not make it into the game right at first, but we're going to be updating all of those, the full suite of them. They're just going to come in as they come in.
Yes, our video team has been putting in a ton of work on those. Last time I checked, I think it was around 30 new tutorial videos for Smite that are going to be super helpful.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. All right, and then last up for Project Olympus, we've got a user interface update. We're going to be updating the lighting sections on the God screen, Order lobby, and Chaos lobby, just to kind of make things look a little bit more, make them pop a little bit better.
This is like, purely aesthetic, but I'm really excited for this. We have had some inconsistent lighting or some older types of lighting all throughout the client side. So everywhere in the main client UI where you're browsing gods, you're picking and banning, etc. The lighting is very different from scene to scene and on god to god, and it makes for some confusing visuals, and makes for some visuals that don't look so good, or makes for ones that just don't look like what the character really looks like when you're playing the game. So we've changed the lighting on all of those. Really makes the 3D models look so much better in the UI. I'm really excited about this one.
Yep. And then last but not least for user interface, we're adding percent penetration to the stats screen in-game.
Of course, all the changes and shifts we did in Season 7 for putting a cap on percent pen and caring more about it, now you'll be able to see how much percent pen you have and how close you are to the cap.
Most definitely. All right, that wraps it up for Project Olympus. Now let's get into the balance changes that are heading your way with the Witch of the Woods update. We're going to kick things off with some game mode changes, and the first change is actually for all modes. Jungle camp timers are now going to appear on the minimap for all camps at the start of the match.
This is a huge quality of life change. This is really nice. You can tell really clearly which buffs are going to spawn at what time as soon as you load into a map on any game mode, especially helpful on maps like Conquest, where things spawn at a little slightly different timing at the beginning of the game, as well as Joust, like with keeping track of the red buff spawn. I'm so stoked about this feature. It is really nice.
Yeah, especially on Joust, that red buff, I get lost there all the time, where I'm like, oh, we're going for the wave fight, and then I see the enemy team rotate over there, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to be late. So seeing that's going to be great.
Yeah, now you can track it really well.
Yes, this would be a huge quality of life change for the start of the match. I'm super excited to hop in the games and check it out. Next up for game modes, we've got Conquest, and we've got a big change here. Invader's Curse. Ajax, I'm going to let you take the reins on this one.
So this is interesting. We're talking about this before we've seen any pro play, but we've been in a lot of discussions with a lot of pro players, and we have been clearly made to understand that invading is still a very strong strategy, especially invading where your support is just harassing and trying to slow down the jungler. So we made a few changes in the beginning of this season to try to address invading, and our goal is to not overdo it at first, right? We wanted to do some smaller changes, give players ways to defend themselves through Hog and awards, make sure that they have ways to counter the invade before we just go and do something extreme. So those changes were maybe a little too subtle, because now we are seeing that it's still happening, and we want to make sure that we prevent it. We are adding a new feature to the Conquest map called the Invader's Curse that is a refreshing debuff area near the speed buff and back harpies camp. And if you enter that area as an enemy god, so if you cross the map and enter it if you enter your own side of the map, you're fine. But if you cross the enemy's side into that area, you'll see some visual effects there, and you will be debuffed with 30% reduced healing. That'll include potions, even at the beginning of the game. 30% reduced movement speed and 30% reduced attack speed. So this is a pretty heavy-handed change that we really want to stop this type of invading. Now, we hear that there's other invades happening, sometimes blue buffs having 2v2 fights, and sometimes purple buffs, and those invades are actually causing some really interesting fights where certain players are actually, fighting or dying or getting first blooded or stealing a camp or whatever. That's pretty interesting. We're more open to that being part of the map, but the part where support is literally just harassing a jungler and throwing away their own game progression just to slow down another class, we find that is where we draw the line. So we're willing to make a pretty intense change here, and this is what we have decided to do.
Yeah, this 30% reduced healing, movement speed, and attack speed makes it difficult to follow the jungler, especially once they get speed buff. It makes it very difficult to box and trade effectively, so if the jungler tries to just turn and try and kill you, he probably has a really good chance of doing it. And this area is relatively large. You have to walk through it to basically get to speed or get to back harpies. So if you overcommit and realize, oh no, I actually need to get out of here, you have to go through all that area with that debuff that persists for a long time afterwards. It's if you're gonna try and invade, it's gonna be pretty much a death sentence walking in there.
And this will only be active at the very beginning of the match, like the first 1 minute right now. So this will go away. It's really just to make sure the jungler gets that clean start.
Yes, I know there's a lot of community frustration around the invade meta, in quotation marks, towards the end of last season, and we really just want to kind of discourage that very early support invading on speed. So hopefully these heavy-handed changes have an effect, and we'll see a deterrent from that. Next up, we are going to talk about Joust, and Joust has a lot of changes here, and I'm going to just kind of read through. There's some changes to lane minions where we're increasing the max HP, adding some XP reward scaling there. Buff camps overall looks like they're getting a huge buff in base HP, along with the Phoenix and Titans. AJ, do you kind of want to go over some of the goals for these changes for Joust?
Yeah, so we've been carefully watching Joust since the Season 7 launch, and we've been collecting a lot of feedback and a lot of data and looking for ways to tweak it to make it even more fun. So first of all, we're addressing a few artistic and thematic issues. So we're going to do some lighting and color adjustments on the map for people's appreciation of the art. We're also going to be adjusting the actual size of the middle lane, making it a little wider. A lot of people felt constrained there. We also had an issue where minions were only increasing. So, a lot of our minions and jungle camps now have a feature where they scale up in their tankiness or their rewards. This was happening only every 3 minutes on Joust, so now it's going to be happening every 1 minute. That means their tankiness is going to ramp up a lot faster. So, then there's a lot of other changes here, but really these all come together towards a few key goals, which one of the main goals was we wanted to make it harder for people to take essentially the Tower, the Phoenix, and the Titan all in one push. So what you're going to see here is pretty big buffs to the health of the Titan and the Demon King. So that's going to make it harder to do all these objectives at once, as well as the Phoenix. So Phoenix, Titan, and Demon King all getting a lot of increased HP. You're also going to see increased HP on the red buff. So that one's a contested buff. It was a little too easy to capture, we felt like. You could oftentimes just completely steal it, even if your opponents were really close. We were going to have a little bit more people fighting over that one. But simultaneously, we're going to make actually the blue and the yellow a little bit easier to kill, to make sure that people can do their little rotation before the game starts, and when they're rotating through the jungle throughout the game, they can get back to lane in time. Then finally, the lane minions. There was a little bit of a XP curve strangeness going on in this new Joust, where in the late game players' level would really stagnate and their gold though would continue to move forward, so you would kind of get full builds, but you would only be like level 14 or something, and that felt really strange. So we're going to have lane minion increasing their XP scaling, so you're going to get better XP throughout the late game, and this will do a lot of good things as far as preventing snowballing. As long as you can keep clearing your wave, you should stay up and much closer. And we're also adding an increased distance for shared XP on minions, because Joust is relatively dangerous. Like if you're playing a squishy character and you get too close to the wave, the opponent's team is just going to 3-man wombo combo you and you just die. So a lot of people play it a little bit safer. They play a little further back from their wave than they do in other game modes, and that actually causes a lot of people to miss the experience from their own minion wave, even though they feel like they're standing right there. And that's really frustrating, and people don't understand why they're getting behind in Joust, and oftentimes this is the reason. So this is just going to be a big quality of life buff. This should help your team stay up in levels, even if they're playing safely.
Yeah, and if you're playing the aggressive team, if you're playing like that Bacchus Sobek comp where you're trying to wombo combo, you actually have to play forward and actively zone them versus kind of just passively being around the wave. So it also kind of puts the onus on the team that's like trying to use that pressure to actually utilize it.
That's a very good point. There's a lot of different places where this change is going to feel better. You have that one mage who likes to run up too far and like clear the whole wave without you, and you like get nothing, and you're like, come on. Now that should happen less. Like, this is going to be, I think, a huge quality of life improvement.
Definitely, yep. Lots of the Joust map released with lots of great community reception. These should be some great quality of life changes. And if you're a Joust or dual player, continue to send us your feedback, because we're completely open to it and we're looking for it.
Totally, good point. And even during PTS, we would be happy to make a few more adjustments based on comments and feedback. So please take a look at it and let us know how you feel.
All right, so we're going to move right along to item balance, and we're going to start off with Hand of the Gods. We're going to increase the damage from 150 to 170 on this consumable.
Yeah, so as a jungler, right, you had the experience where you got hog, maybe you were worried about an invade, and then no one came to invade, you warded up, you see it, nothing's happening, and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna hog the camp. And then the little minis to the sides live, and you're like, oh no, I actually have to spend a basic attack to hit them. That extra damage increase is gonna help remove that feeling, as well as just give a bit more secure control when you are using it to defend against invades, especially if like you're trying to do purple and maybe the enemy landers come to fight you. That little bit of extra damage will help you secure as well.
We were also looking at this specifically for the jungler. So if you have Assassin's Blessing, this damage is amplified.
Yep.
This number should now let you clear any buff camp or back harpy camp, or not mid harpies. I'm sorry. I should have calculated this more closely. But the jungler here is going to get a bigger buff from this than non-junglers. So keep in mind that if you're playing this as a guardian, or maybe you're using this elsewhere, you might not, or if you let the minions get a single stack of their HP buffs, you might not full clear the minis with this. But this is here to make sure, mostly this is here to hyper focus on making sure those junglers get that really clean start.
All right, we're going to kick things off. Next up is Heartseeker. Subsequent hits on the passive on the same target do 75% of the bonus damage for the next 3 seconds. That's a little bit of a nerf here.
So Heartseeker, we've been hearing nerf requests for quite a while now. we want to be careful. We don't want to overdo it. We're doing a lot of tight balance with junglers. As you can see, we just made a huge conquest game feature specifically for that class. So we're trying to be careful. But this item definitely feels overtuned. And when you can unload your whole kit on someone and get an additional damage proc on every single ability, that is pretty strong. So what we're doing here is you're going to just get a slight reduction in just the bonus damage from the item trigger if you hit the same target within 3 seconds. This is similar tech as we use on Soul Reaver, and this type of solution has been really successful in the past. We think it's going to work well on Heartseeker. Notice we did 75 instead of 50, so we are open to adjusting this number up and down even further, right, Pawn?
Yeah, exactly. Heartseeker's been one of the go-to items for a lot of the more aggressive junglers. It slots in really nicely and gets a lot of extra damage. Reducing it to 75%, it's still going to be a very strong item, but that kind of situation where you're getting a whole bunch of extra procs, the damage is going to be reduced, hoping to bring it more in line with other options. And as you said, would be obviously willing to make adjustments to this number to make sure that this item feels good to still buy.
All right, I know a lot of you have been on us for Heartseeker nerfs, and you've got them. Thanks so much for the feedback. Next up for items, we got Mantle of Discord, and we are going to decouple the CC immunity and the stun on the passive of this item. It's now going to be a 0.3 second cast time before the stun hits.
This is a really interesting change, and shout out to the Smite Pro team here at Hi-Rez who've been asking for this. The amount of self-peel that this item provides is pretty massive, right? We've even had discussed actually cutting or removing the CC immunity or the stun from it. That felt a little too intense for us. What we want is have better counterplay and better reactivity. So when you're fighting against someone who has a mantle, you're not just going to get insta-stunned anymore when they hit this threshold. You're going to see them go CC immune. You're going to see some effects before the stun so that you can prepare to either pre-beads it or leap it or something like that, so you can react to it. This is going to be mostly like a pro level, high level nerf. I think a lot of players who are still using Mantle, it'll still do a lot of the same things. It's still going to feel very good as like a one-off defensive item if you're ahead, but it's definitely going to have a little more counterplay and a little bit more window of opportunity to punish.
Yeah, you're going to be more reactive to, like, if someone's next to you and they have that and you see that little bit of warm-up, you have the opportunity to try and leap away from it or maybe pre-beads to avoid getting stunned. Where right now, you could be fighting someone and be trying to watch their health pool, and then all of a sudden, like, your mage hits them really hard and suddenly you're stunned. You actually now are able to react to it.
All right, well, last up for items, we've got Ring of Hecate. We're going to be decreasing the cost from 2,600 to 2,500, and we're also making a change to the passive to where this item will now stack off of any target.
So this item gets compared to Bancrofts a lot, especially in Mage ADC builds. We're trying to make it a better replacement for that item. I don't know if we can truly replace Bancrofts. That item is very good, but we want Hecate to be able to provide you the stats that you want. And one thing people were saying is that the passive was really just not very effective. Hitting an enemy god multiple times basic attacks, you're definitely doing that from time to time, but not super often, not super consistently. So now you're going to have that increased lifesteal pretty much all the time because you can gain these stacks from anything. As long as you're in combat, as long as you've been fighting something, this item is going to provide a significant more amount of lifesteal than it did previously.
Yeah, for any mage who's trying to look for some sustain, Bancroft has always been the go-to, and then pair that with Demonic Grip. This should now be much more competitive in that slot because you can actually use it to sustain against jungle camps, maybe objectives, or you can start stacking up before the fight in the lane and then take that lifesteal into the fight with you.
I believe a fun fact in testing is you could even gain this stacks on towers, although you won't be lifestealing from those towers. You can build the stacks so that when you get jumped, you will have that lifesteal ready to go at the time you're fighting gods. So I think that's really cool too.
Awesome. Ring of Hecate, a new item in Season 7, didn't get picked up a whole lot, so hopefully these buffs change that. That wraps it up for items, and we're going to move right along to gods. First up on the list is Ares. We're going to be buffing No Escape. We're decreasing the self-slow from 50% to 30% here.
Yeah, Ares can now actually, once he pulls you, he can cover some more distance to try and juke maybe incoming abilities, pull people a further distance into his own enemy team, or into his own team. Just a lot more flexibility on the ultimate to make sure that it feels impactful when Ares uses it.
Ares has had a hard time finding a true foothold in Conquest, specifically. He tends to be stronger in other game modes. What we want to do is give him a little bit more control, as you can see here. His ultimate is His ultimate is really good, you know. It really can be very good. But stronger players are pretty good at avoiding it or, you know, cleansing it. So what we have here is that this slow change is going to make Ares not such a sitting duck. So even if you know you hit you sometimes you Ares ulting just because you know you're going to burn some beads and you're okay with that, right? And now you can do that and not also like sacrifice your entire hit point pool for it.
Definitely. Next up on the list, we've got Discordia. We're making a change to Golden Apple of Discord, and we're increasing the projectile speed from 80 to 120.
Yeah, so this was interesting because we were looking at Persephone. We were looking at just different ways for these like kind of like long range ultimates to how they feel and how they compare against each other. In Discordia, there's a lot of community discussion about Discordia in general. Some people feeling like she was underwhelming, some people feeling like she was still really strong, and people were crazy for calling her underwhelming. And we just found a place that felt from all that feedback that felt underwhelming to her, which was Golden Apple Discord. Sometimes it was too difficult to confirm or hit on targets, especially if they could see it coming. And so similar to Persephone, where that's a bit too easy to confirm, we're reducing the projectile speed. We're increasing the projectile speed here. And for reference on like what this kind of speed means, like I think Nox is 160. So that's the kind of speed range that we're looking at. We're going essentially in between what she currently is and in between Nox's speed.
I think this is going to feel really good for Discordia, and I like it that it doesn't actually increase her total damage potential at all. This is like a quality of life buff. It's definitely going to result in more ultimates making contact with enemies, which is going to result in her dealing more damage, but it's not the same as just a true damage buff, and I think this one is mostly for feels reasons. Discordia is like a very tricky character from feels reasons. Like, I love to tell the story about me and Ponpon testing her Strife ability in playtesting, and we would like increase the range of that ability by like 5 units, and everyone in the playtest would be flipping tables. And then we would decrease it by 5 units, and everyone would be like, man, this god is weak. Like, she has some very tight timings and tight decisions to be made here. So I'm really excited to see that this sped up. I think this is going to feel a lot better. I think we were maybe a little too harsh on her and wanted to keep this slow due to her launch being strong, but now I think this is the right time, the right change to make.
Definitely. We'll have to talk about Discordia. We'll see who thinks she's still strong or who thinks she's still weak after these buffs come through. Next up on the list, we've got Horus. Fracture, we are decreasing the cooldown on the ability, and To the Skies, Horus is now going to be able to move faster while selecting a target.
Yeah, so Horus is more of a support warrior, but he often felt kind of weird in his build decision making. Fracture having a decreased cooldown overall is going to help make him not feel so reliant on CDR and be able to flex more into those tank opportunities and also set up just more often for his team. And To the Skies, the movement speed that he had in it limited how far he could move. We're increasing that to let him go further, so if he needs to chase an enemy team down further or get his team further away, or maybe try and like get a longer distance teleport onto like the Titan, for example, he can now do that more effectively.
So this To the Skies change, Ponpon.
Yes.
I know we're
really
going to increase this number. It's going to look really large, but we just want players out there to understand that diminishing returns on movement speed is a pretty intense factor in Smite. Mm-hmm. So although we're increasing this number to what looks like an absurd level, this is where we felt like this number is what made the ultimate actually feel considerably better. So it's not as big as it looks, but it is enough so that you can feel it, which is what we want. So this is going to make this ultimate, I mean, this is already a pretty crazy ultimate if you have the right level of coordination. Now Horus is going to be able to do even more crazy stuff with this. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, the number is plus 35% movement speed in the old state to 135%, but what it actually translates it into is basically a basic attack and half, 2 basic attacks range on his actual teleport distance. So he's getting further, but he's not going like triple the distance.
Right, 50 to 75 more units of distance.
Yeah.
All right, it is time for the buff that everybody has been waiting for. Kuzenbo getting some love here. Water Bowl, we're going to increase the duration here from 10 seconds to 30 seconds. And my favorite change of the patch, Nene Kappa. Kuzenbo can now spawn multiple Nenes. And then last up for Kuzenbo, we're making a change to Sumo Slam and adjusting the turn radius to allow for a little bit more control over the turns.
Kuzenbo is interesting. He is definitely someone that is... A lot of people like him for the meme factor, but we've seen him struggle a little bit to really succeed as a true support and really like be a competitively viable pick. So we want to make some changes that, one, gave him more ability to do that, but also some changes that are going to affect his overall gameplay experience, where you throw a Nene Kappa and then you get a whole bunch of shield spike returns, or shell spike returns, and then you get another Nene Kappa and you watch your first one die. That was just kind of a bad feel, and so that's being fixed.
Multiple Nenes. Say it with me, everybody.
Multiple Nenes.
Dude, it's gonna be...
It's happening.
Especially wait until you play him on some match of the day or something. It's gonna be a mess. But realistically speaking, Kuzenbo's a tricky character to balance. He is really in your face and can do a lot of difficult things to deal with. So we're trying to balance him and not amp up those specific factors. Mostly, specifically, damage reflect. We do not want to be buffing damage reflect. We've already nerfed Nemean. We understand that damage reflect can be really frustrating. We like having it in certain places, but we don't want to overbuff it. I think to me the biggest change is Water Bowl. Like, the way this ability is designed, it's kind of a stacking protective buff, and then it's only cleared when he is hit by certain types of CC, which is very thematic, right? Because tipping his water. It was really strange to me that this had such a short duration. That's why we were willing to make such a large increase. You should really have to knock the water out, in my opinion. I think we could even move this 30 seconds up even higher. But I think that passive is gonna be the big change that lets Kuzenbo be a more effective tank or frontliner for his teams, even without the ability to reflect damage or deal damage. That's going to make him a better frontliner.
Mm-hmm.
Super excited to see these changes in game. Next up, we've got some buffs for our newest goddess to hit the battleground, Mulan. Spear Thrust is going to be seeing a speed up in the rollout of the hit area, and Divine Mastery. Mulan is now going to get increased protections by 30% when firing this ability.
Yeah, new god release. People have been trying to figure out where exactly they want to play Mulan, how they want to play Mulan. I know a lot of people tried to play the super aggressive Mulan and found out that the ult was difficult to, once you connected with someone, they could just turn and like crack in you and you could potentially die. So I think people have kind of settled into their build path. And one thing about this change that I really like is Divine Mastery. It's increased protections by 30%. So if you built Bruiser, you're more rewarded for this change than if you haven't.
Interesting thing with new gods, we always try to take our time on balance adjustments. We want to make sure players learn the character before we react to them. So I know there's some people out there who might be a little confused about Mulan buffs. Maybe they were expecting nerfs. People tend to rate new gods as stronger than they actually are. We haven't seen her in really ranked or pro play yet, so we're not 100% sure. But we do know that from the player feedback, people were pretty frustrated about dying during Divine Mastery. And we wanted also to design that bonus protections in a way that encourages Mulan to build tanky up front. So if you're playing full jungle Mulan, that's great. That can be really good. But you're not going to get as much of a bonus from this protection buff as you would if you're playing Warrior Mulan. And that's exactly the way we intend it. So we think this is going to be really important. If she ends up overperforming in some of those high skill things in the future, we would be happy to nerf her in other ways. But I still think in the end of the day, we're going to be happy that we have this new component here.
All right, next up, we've got Ra, a god who hasn't seen a whole lot of love in a long time. Solar Blessing is now going to provide physical power and magical power to allied gods who are standing in the area.
This is a blast from the past.
Shoutouts to closed beta.
Yeah. Yeah, so Solar Blessing, for those that don't know, used to not only give power, but also take power from people who were in it. So this is kind of a partial version of that, where rather than just taking power, because that's really what the protections on it that currently exist do, we're giving some of that power back. So if you want to use this aggressively on sieging a tower or Phoenix, maybe on an objective, or you're just in the middle of a team fight, you're healing your teammates and they are benefiting from this power, it's just increasing the overall utility that Ra brings to a team.
I love this because it encourages you to use it in combat. The Ra meta where he is just disengaging after every fight and healing up the team, and that's why he's meta, that is not, to me, the healthy spot for Ra. This encourages you to fight in it. This encourages you to use it for power plays, like Pon mentioned, for towers and for jungle bosses. So we know there's a lot of people out there been talking about Ra. I'm really happy to see a buff on the list for him.
All right, and last up for gods in this balance section, we've got Scylla, and we're going to be making some changes to Crush. First of all, we fixed an issue where Crush would not apply protection reduction to slow immune targets, but the change that we're going to be making here is Scylla is now going to be able to explode Crush when she is CC'd.
Kind of a bug fix, but has a very important balance reaction to it. So this is something that from Quality of Life people have been asking for a long time. We know there's probably a lot of people out there saying Scylla does not need a buff right now,
but this one specifically, this is just really frustrating, and even other gods like Isis, they already function in this way, so it feels strange. And we're definitely going to be continuing to look at other types of gods with a similar design here and make sure we give players the control that they expect. Because a lot of times people are mashing this button, they don't understand why it's not working. It honestly, it felt like a bug to them, and so fixing this, I think, is going to reduce a lot of frustration from playing the character.
Yeah, there's definitely a few times where you throw right underneath you and you try and get that last bit of burst damage off, and the other person kills you, and then you watch them just stand in it and then walk out of it, and you're like, I tried to detonate it, but it didn't work. It just doesn't feel right, especially when we have other characters in the game that do allow you to detonate it post like death or CC.
This should allow her to use this while dead as well, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
I would expect it to match Isis fully now.
That's what I would expect. I know we didn't have that written, but Clumsy was leading this one, so unfortunately we don't have him on the call right now. So we will double check and confirm that, and Scylla players, get ready to be crushing people.
Oh yeah. That wraps it up for Balance heading your way in the Witch of the Woods update, but we've got a ton of skins coming your way too. And we're going to kick things off with what's coming in Chapter 2 of the Grim Omens event. And we're going to start off with Acer Mulan. This is another Pantheon crossover skin for this show.
Yeah, and it's also the first skin for Mulan, which is really exciting. Mulan is this legendary warrior that we were kind of adopting into the god pantheons of Smite, and we really liked the idea of imagining how she might travel around and like learn the ways of the combat from the other pantheons. So this here we kind of have her reinterpreted as if she's been training, Mulan herself training with the Norse gods and picked up their powers and their skills and their weaponry, and it just looks amazing.
Yeah, we're really doubling down on the training arc passive theme here.
in the kit, in the visuals, and in the skins, she's got training arc. That is
Most
some
definitely.
meta commitment.
And I just love this card art and her skin. She looks just so strong in this pose. I'm really excited to play with this one. All right, next up on the list, we have got Rocky Road Hebo, and this is a sweet take on the super high damage dealer Jungle Mage. He's looking so awesome.
So you might remember the Ymir skin pictured right there, looking gasping at Hebo's power as Hebo throws sprinkles at his enemy, which became a really like popular inside joke for the team as we were developing the skin when we were brainstorming it. That the idea of just yelling sprinkles at each other and throwing them at each other, we just thought that was hilarious. So we had a good bit of fun designing this skin internally, just yelling sprinkles.
See, now I just want ice cream. Like, it's actually cold outside right now, and I just want to go out and get ice cream.
I know, right? I need some sweet treats. And you know what? Now that I think about it, I feel like sprinkles hurt if they get thrown at you a lot. So that kind of makes sense.
Hebo hurts, that's for sure.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. And this is going to be available in Chapter 2 of the Grim Omens event. And the next skin that's in Chapter 2 of the Grim Omens event is Syndicate Daji.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Very interesting here. So yeah, you've got a lot of focus on this kind of tattooed mercenary. You know, she clearly not following the rules. A lot of style to her.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Loving the details and the tattoos. And I got a chance to see this skin in game a little earlier. And the tails have a really cool texture treatment on them. She's definitely got some style, but is also super badass.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what the palo looks like.
Oh, the Paolo is amazing. It's very tattoo inspired as well, the type of art on it.
Looks so good. Yeah, I got my first tattoo last year during the Winter Wishes charity event, and I already want another one. And this kind of inspiring me a little bit, so we'll see. Next up, we want to give you guys an exclusive sneak peek at the chapter reward for Chapter 2, and this one is super cute. It is Kitty Cafe Artemis.
Yes, this one. Oh man. All right, so this is the chapter reward, which means it won't be available to unlock right when Mulan and Hebo and Daji go live, but you'll be earning this reward through getting those skins. This is a tier 4, a lot of additional stuff added to it. That cart of the cats riding, that's in the game. That is her Tusky.
Oh,
it is
no
so
way.
cute. Yes, those cats are on the cart being like palling around and being cute and silly. And there's a whole lot of additional effort went into the effects and her traps and everything like that. This skin, you know, took a little bit of additional effort for us to imagine what would it be like if Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, was running her own cat cafe. How would that work? And that is what we have here.
I have a feeling I know who really pushed for this idea.
It came from a lot of places. I think Tina was definitely a champion of it, but it might have even been Alex who pitched it initially. But yes, this is awesome for sure.
Yeah, this definitely turned out great, and I'm just super excited to just see kitties everywhere on the battleground.
Agreed.
Next up for skins, it's been a long time coming. Valkyrie Bride Thor.
Yes.
The
Finally.
super long time community request is finally in the game. The Mad Lads finally did it.
Look at
Oh
Loki's
my
troll
gosh.
face. Look at Loki's troll face. Oh my god. This is amazing.
All
so
the
this
all the frost giants in the background, like, how could we have been fooled?
For those of you who don't get it, this is a specific reference to Norse mythology. Thor's hammer gets taken by the ice giants, and the only way they will return it is if they marry Freya to the leader of the ice giants. And they don't want to do that, so instead Loki and Thor devise a plan to go undercover to the wedding where Thor himself pretends to be Freya. And even in Norse mythology, they describe how poorly put together his disguise is. But the ice giants fall for it, and he is able to recover his hammer, and that is what you're seeing here.
Oh
This
my
is so
goodness.
good.
This would be unlocked through the stretch goal of the viewer points system, so you'll need to earn viewer points to unlock it. You will not have to spend viewer points on this one. This one you will unlock in addition to all the other things you spend your points on. But this is we wanted to make sure we had some really big hype skin to be like an additional stretch goal for the viewer points and viewer system. So this is it. I know my community's been asking for it for literal years. And look how glorious it is.
Yeah, Thor is just rocking that dress.
Yeah, most definitely.
He's
So
the
be
god
sure
of
if
thighs.
you haven't already, be sure to link your high-res and Twitch or Mixer accounts. You could be earning points right now for watching the show. Head over to the Esports and Live Streams Hub in-game for info on how to unlock this skin. And the last skin that we've got up for you today is Shadow Speaker Hell.
Oh, this one's really cool.
It looks like we have expanded lore on this skin now. We have a light being.
Yeah, we kind of branched into it a little bit in Horus. We've been really digging this theme. We started with Izanami, Opwatch, Bakasura. We branched a little bit into Fenrir, even into a little bit more of the chaotic wilderness of this possible universe. And then we were branching with the Horus a little bit into the lighter side. And now with Hell having to convey both dark and light, we kind of have a really interesting take on this skin for these two opposite themes.
Definitely. This theme is one of my favorites, and I'm just super excited to just see another element added to it, the light side of things.
Certainly it has a little bit of anime inspiration, so I know you're digging it, Isaiah.
Oh yeah.
But
You
of
know
course you
me.
see a lot of high fantasy here, and also a little bit of wilderness, jungle, nature themes too.
Yeah,
Most
our card art has been really, really good, and all of them are wallpaper material, but this one especially could easily be wallpaper.
Really nice, yeah.
Well, that wraps it up for all of the content headed your way on April 21st, but we've still got the main event of the show ready for you guys. Baba Yaga, Witch of the Woods' epic god reveal is coming up right now. All right, welcome back, everybody. Baba Yaga, Witch of the Woods, is finally making her way onto the battleground, and I've still got AJ and Pond to break things down with me. All right, guys, before we get into it, Baba Yaga, who is she, and how did she make her way onto the battleground?
So yeah, Baba Yaga is a very interesting character. Her stories kind of lead her to be this very chaotic character that sometimes she's going to help you out, and sometimes she's not going to help you out. Sometimes she's just going to outright hurt you or eat you if you come to her cabin uninvited. But she never really interferes unless people come to see her first. And that's something we want to kind of bring into Smite as a whole, where she's this chaotic figure that brings kind of these random elements to the game, but she knows what she's doing. She knows what she's in control of. She has kind of this understanding of this grand plan that just other people don't have insight into.
And she's just a really interesting and unique character for the game. Really excited to be bringing her the community feedback was a huge part of getting Baba on the schedule, and now she's finally here for real. Look at how cool and creepy she is. She's going to have her house. She's going to be riding in her mortar and her pestle. She's just got all of the iconic Baba things, and we're just so excited.
Yeah, definitely. Taking a look at her card out here, AJ, earlier you said she was going to be ugly and gangly, and she is definitely that.
I hope everybody is happy. I mean, we really want to make our players happy with each God release. That is our goal. And I love how she turned out. She looks really cool and creepy and scary. And she's just kind of a little wacky too. And she's right on the line of creepy and wacky. And that's a difficult spot to go for. And I think our art team and design team was just on point though.
And I love the mortar and pestle. Like the mortar there, just like this kind of big thing that she's riding on top of, and then the pestle is actually like a staff. You can see like the base of it is used to is kind of like flat and rounded, so you can grind things with it. But then it's gonna turn into this like gnarly staff. It's just so cool.
Definitely. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to see her in game. So I'm pretty sure we have that ready for you guys. Oh, and look at that. Look at her floating around there.
Yep, she is definitely interesting. Should I just fire off a whole bunch of things?
Yeah, Pawn, you've got the floor.
Okay, let's go.
Which way is me?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that one.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, the house.
Oh my goodness. So there is definitely a lot going on. So let's go ahead and start things off with the passive. We couldn't have Baba Yaga without her creeping cabin. So what's going on with the passive, guys?
Yeah, so her passive is, of course, her cabin, her hut. It's the thing she lives in. It has the chicken feet. You can see there it's kind of like roosted and getting ready to kind of go into the ground. And we wanted to let this be a persistent thing on the battlefield that kind of followed her around, like kind of creeps along the battlefield. You can see as I move away, it's going to start kind of moving towards me. Oop, yep, it's up.
Oh,
He's got so
nice.
much personality in a living house. He's like pops up and is like, "Oh, don't leave me."
And the goal of this is basically as it's running around the map, it's accumulating essence for Baba Yaga. So it's not just kind of idling around. You can see on the passive meter that purple bar there. If I were to get hurt, so real quick, hit me with. Normally, I don't actually get to talk while typing all this stuff. You get to hear all the click clacks.
We're filming this from home because we're still doing that, and thank you everyone for bearing with us as we try some new things.
So you can see as I take damage, that energy kind of drains, and I get some health back, which is
No
part of the
way.
passive. So
the
it's
house
basically
heals
like
you.
a mini fountain for Baba Yaga herself. But it's not just a fountain. So you can
It's
see
a
as
home
I kind of,
away from home, would you say, Pop?
yes, is definitely that. You can see as it's running around, it's getting a little bit more energy, but it has an extra component there that might change how you build Baba Yaga. So I'm going to quickly back. Let's go buy, I don't know, maybe a Warlock staff. That seems like that'd be good.
That seems fitting to her,
Yeah.
at least thematically.
So I'm going to approach the cabin. It should be running towards me. Yep, there it is. And let's see what the energy does here. And I
5
have
stacks.
Oh
Yep.
my gosh.
6.
So the energy is first trying to accumulate into stacking items. So if you have a stacking item, if you have a Warlock staff, if you have a Hide of the Urchin, if you have a Karen's coin, this will actually convert that energy into stacks of that item. The amount of energy it takes scales off the stack count, so you can't just get 10 stacks of Hide of the Urchin for free.
Right, the tougher ones.
Yeah, so you can see I'm getting pretty good stacks of Warlock staff, but it would take nearly a full energy bar to get a stack of Karen's coin, for example. Karan's coin.
Right.
Yep. And so if you don't have any stacking items or you're hurt, it'll actually use a heal instead. So you can use this in multiple different ways.
Okay, so Baba Yaga is a mage, by the way.
Yes.
And her passive is the Creeping Cabin, which has this really unique pet type of mechanics where you can't really control exactly where it runs. It also gets startled by enemies, right?
Yeah, so I can actually run it to these Odin bots.
And
it's
if you
not
get near it when it's charged up, it'll try to give you item stacks, or if you don't have item stacks, it'll try to heal you. Does it do anything else?
so you can see when it gets near this Odin real quick, right? That little tether of purple energy. This is actually giving the cabin more and more energy. So if enemies are around it for too long, you can see I'm getting a lot more Warlock staff stacks because enemies are nearby because it's draining essence from them. They're getting a small power reduction for this.
Okay, so they get a little debuff and you gain stacks. But yeah, being near 2 gods for this long is pretty uncommon in gameplay.
Yeah.
But
Because
You're getting a
if you
lot
get-
of stacks here, but
if you get too close, the cabin is.
oh, there he goes. Oh no.
Yeah, it didn't like that I spawned something on top of it.
Yeah, I
but
was
you
a
can
little
see if an enemy
confused with the
gets
spawn, but
if an enemy gets too close, it's just gonna run away. So enemies have ways of like, if this is getting in people's ways, or if they're draining essence and they want to get rid of it, they can just run to it and the cabin gets startled and runs.
awesome. So we're gonna go through her abilities next. You can see them across the bottom. Those are some temp icons. You'll see a few other temp assets in here. You know, we're working from home. Things are all coming together greatly, but a few things are going to be streaming in throughout PTS. So, yeah, let's see ability 1. It looks very interesting.
So first ability is Wild Witchcraft. You can see that this targeter is different than maybe when I used it before. It's a kind of like a right L shape, and it has some kind of frosty effects. When I fire this, the projectile is going to travel that path, and you can see my passive meter is now changed to kind of a purple L with an X, and this is actually a silence field. So projectile has a path and has a field it leaves behind, and they're both rolled randomly every single time you cast this ability. So we got right L silence.
Getting a lot of L's,
Yep, right L protection.
just like my weekend.
There you go. Now we have a different
Yeah,
shape.
it's a circle.
So now we have a circle that is a slow field. Yeah, oval.
Right. So this is one of the most unique random effects in all of Smite. And as you mentioned on the intro, kind of Baba's personality, we kind of interpreted as chaotic, and that's where we translated that into these chaotic spells.
Yep. And you can see that there's a slow field and a silence field which debuff your enemies, but there's also these protection and movement speed fields that if we can get them to roll. See, here's a protection field. When I stand inside of it, as an ally, I get bonus protections for being inside this, and it persists for a little bit after I leave. In this one, I'm going to actually move a bit faster right in this field. So
Nice.
sometimes you roll helpful effects to help your teammates, and sometimes you roll harmful effects to hurt your enemies. And playing around that and playing around with the different shapes and different hit areas. Like, for example, like normally, like this is about 55 range, you wouldn't be able to hit this Odin. If you aim it to the right, and you mess around with that shape a little bit, you get some extra range. And so learning these shapes is going to be a very interesting part of
I
her.
gotta say, in playtesting, that is like one of the most fun things to do with her. You're like aiming off to the side, and the opponent's like, "Oh, okay, no problem," and then it just takes a right turn at you. You gotta always be on your toes, and I love how Baba always knows what she's gonna cast next, so
Yes.
she can always be prepared. But as an enemy, you never really know what she's gonna be throwing at you.
Definitely playing into the randomness and the chaotic nature of Baba Yaga. It's super cool. And speaking of randomness, let's go ahead and move into Baba's next ability, Baba's Brew.
Yep. So when Baba's Brew lets her actually use her mortar and pestle to craft a potion. And the ingredients that she throws in the potion are random. So you can see when I hit the button, I kind of brew this potion. And this one is, let's see, 2 Eyes of Newt, 2 Dragon Scales, and 1 Wolf Tooth, which is basically each ingredient's going to empower this potion in a different way. So you can see when I throw that potion, it goes out, explodes, and it's going to deal damage. For each red ingredient or Eye of Newt, it's going to increase the damage of it a little bit. For each Scale of Dragon, it's going to add a slow to it, and this slow will stack in intensity per ingredient. And for each green ingredient or Wolf Tooth, you actually get a power reduction and attack speed slow applied to your enemies that are hit by this. So when I throw this one, it's a normal potion damage. It's been amplified a little bit by a red ingredient, and this is going to heavily slow that Odin. I believe
that's
it's
crazy.
That's what 12.5%. So that was a 50% slow applied to that Odin.
Whew.
He was hit. So you can see I brew these potions and I get these different ingredients, and when I play around with these different ingredients, I'm going to apply different debuffs or deal more damage based off what I get. But that's not all. You can be like, hey, this potion is pretty good. I might want to save it for later. I don't really have a use for it right now. You right click or you cancel it or you refire the ability, and now it's in your consumable slot. And you can see here this is a temp icon.
Yes,
But-
okay.
So again, we're working from home. We're trying to get all this in for PTS so you guys can play with it. Temp icon for now, but you can see I have this potion in my consumable slot. If I use it, it pops right back out, and I can use it again.
That is so cool. So she can pocket it and save it for later.
Correct.
Which actually lets her, you can only pocket one potion at a time now, but then you can, essentially in the future, you can pocket one, and then wait until your cooldown is up, and then throw the one from your pocket, and throw the one you brewed back to back, which is a pretty strong power play.
Yep, and you can see I have a potion out right now, and I also have a potion in my consumable slot. I can swap between them at will. So I can just bring out the one that suits the situation, and then I can throw one out, pop another one, throw it out. So there's a lot of flexibility in this move.
A lot of learning and a lot of practice. Like when you learn to not just quick throw, when you get one of those super slow potions and save that for when you're in trouble, or when you get one of those super damage ones and save that for when you really need it, that is how you go from a good Baba player to a great Baba player.
So you can see, oop, cabin, hello.
He got his paths around a little randomly, which is also intentional too, right?
Yes, he has some random pathing, because when you walk around the map, it's going to follow you, so it might give some information to your opponents. It has some random elements there, and you can see it kind of triggered there, so that you don't always know where the cabin is kind of going and what direction it's heading towards. You can see, yep. So you can see now I have another potion I can cast. I brew one. I'm going to use the other one that I had stored. I'm going to throw that one, and bring this one out, throw that one. So that's how this ability functions. You get a whole bunch of random ingredients. If you find a potion that you think you're going to need for later, so let's say you get a 5 damage potion, like, no, I have to save this for the team fight, right? You can pocket that one and save it for that team fight when it occurs.
Definitely.
Man, I just have the biggest smile on my face already.
For sure, yeah. I'm loving this recurring theme of like the randomness. Baba Yaga always knows what's about to happen, but her enemies might not necessarily know. That's super cool.
Well, they can see her holding the potion, right? So you can get an idea for what type of potion she's got. If you see a whole bunch of red or a whole bunch of blue, you might know what to play around it.
Yeah, and as it's traveling towards, you can see that the colors that are swirling around it are indicative of the ingredients that are inside of it.
Yeah, the projectile itself, that looks really good.
Yeah,
and also the potion color changes, so you can see here the potion itself right now is blue, and when I throw it, it's going to have a blue bit of explosion in it to signify that was a majority blue potion or majority red potion. So there's some definitely other tells that exist.
So there's like what, 4 potion colors, right? One majority
Yep.
for each color, and then there's the split one.
Yep. And so this one was a blue. I'm going to throw this one. See if I can brew a neutral one. So yeah, here's the neutral one, which has no majority ingredient.
The
And so you can see, 221. It has most colors in here, and when I throw it, it has a bit of a more kind of colorful emissive.
Okay, nice.
Crazy. Well, this kit is really taking us into the stratosphere already, but we gotta blast off even further, right, Pon?
Let's do
Good
it.
segue. So the third ability is Blast Off. Baba Yaga goes into her mortar for protection. So let's say you're in the middle of a team fight and you're about to get krakened. You can jump into the mortar for protection, and then while you're inside, Baba Yaga builds up magic that explodes, sending her flying off in a direction, or damaging people that are nearby, right?
Yeah, this ability is so fun to use as kind of a risky damage ability where you kind of dive in with the warm-up and then turn and burst yourself out.
It's so wacky.
It's a really unique movement ability. It gives her strong protective stats while she's inside of her mortar, but she still can be interrupted, right, Pon, by stuns, silences, cripples.
Yes, she has knockback protection, which is the only protection she has. So yeah, so if I get stunned here, if I get crippled, or if I get silenced, it's going to end the effect, and I won't
put it on cooldown.
Correct, and put on cooldown. So there's counterplay to this ability. Baba Yaga has to be careful with how she's using this ability to make sure that she's not stunned out in a bad spot.
Right, the other day I was playtesting Baba and I got ganked by a Kali, and I tried to quick blast off, and Kali just stunned me out of it, and I was like, uh-oh. Bad timing. So you really have to be a little careful when you're going to fire this and be very aware of your matchups when you're playing Baba.
Yep, really cool stuff going on. This ability also feels really good because you get a little bit of a movement speed boost when you first enter it because you're jumping into the mortar, and that helps you like maybe close the distance to get in range for damage or juke a little bit. So there's a lot of like small subtle things on this ability to help it feel really good to use as well.
It just fits her tone and her theme really well too, because you know we've talked a little bit of creepy and a little bit of wacky. This ability is just straight fun, which I love to see.
For sure. And speaking of tone and her character as a whole, like I said earlier, you can't have Baba Yaga without her home sweet home. So let's talk about the ultimate.
Yep. So this is where we finally get to bring the cabin more directly into the fight. Baba Yaga calls down her cabin. It crashes down on her, knocking opponents away if they're too close. So we'll show that off first real quick. So I call it down, set Odin flying back a little bit, and now I'm inside the cabin, and Baba Yaga is in this cabin brewing up some Witchfire magic. And this Witchfire magic, when thrown, explodes on the target area that it hits, as well as it leaves a fire patch on the ground that creeps after enemies. So you can see here, I'm in here, I get 4 shots of this Witchfire, and if I throw it, lands, explodes, and it also chases opponents down.
Oh, that's awesome.
So not only when it first fires is it going to deal some pretty impressive damage, but if you get people stuck in it, if they're CC'd, or if they just can't get away, they're going to take continual burning damage from this effect.
Now Baba is fully attackable and vulnerable while she's in the cabin. She just gets a little bit of a health shield there.
Correct. She gets a small health shield to indicate the cabin's providing her some extra protection, but she's CC immune, but she can be entirely damaged. She can be killed in this state. So she has to be a little bit careful when she's playing with this ability, because if she just jumps into the enemy team and they burn her down, she can definitely be killed.
And you can see a little bit of there of the cabin jumping around a little on outro. We're definitely aware of that, still working toward it for PTS, but this ability is a really cool mage ultimate. It lets you put out a lot of damage, but if your opponents are really aware of it, see it coming, they can avoid it pretty easily. But if you flank a fight and throw this into a pile of enemies and they are not paying attention, and they end up letting those stacks, those different Witchfire deployables pile up on them, they start taking damage from all of them individually all at once. You can put out an absurd amount of damage really quickly if you place this and time this correctly.
Yeah, I think we worked out the damage to be something around, like, Anubis ult, if you were to be hit by every single one and stand in it for every single tick, you can take some serious damage. Of course, enemies will have movement ability to get out of it, and there's a long
pretty rare.
time, right? Like, the amount of time in between each shot is relatively significant. I can't just spam fire it super fast. So it's unlikely that you're going to get all the damage out, but in the middle of a giant team fight where there's 5 people you could potentially hitting, you're putting out a lot of damage in that fight.
And just shout outs to the animation team. You can actually see Baba with like some kind of cartoony proportions, like reaching out of the windows and chimney and stuff to throw these fireballs out the front door. It is like, it's so fun. And we got a little bit of this, a feel for this ability in that amazing cinematic trailer we made before we started the Baba segment, right? How awesome was that?
Yeah, that cinematic was so cool.
Yeah,
we were watching like
absolutely
little
amazing.
pieces of it come in over time, and I was like, this is just going to be incredible.
Yeah, it was so awesome. So Baba Yaga is our next mage hitting the battleground. Are you guys thinking she's gonna stick to that traditional mid role, or do you think she's gonna be able to flex anywhere else?
I think she definitely has potential to be a strong mid laner. I think there's some room for her to potentially be in the solo lane with the little sustain that she can get from her cabin, but I think other kind of bruiser mages do that better. So I just expect her to be more of the traditional mid mage.
I would agree with that.
Cool, awesome. Well, we've covered all the abilities. Let's take a second and listen to Baba Yaga's voice pack.
Oh, wondrous. You sure are something. Attack. Defend. Baba knows best, dearie. Disturbing Baba Yaga while she is resting. Oh, not how I would choose to leave this world. But suit yourself.
Tons of character
That
there.
taunt animation
I
was
know.
amazing.
I was about to say, like, the character that she brings along with those voice lines. Oh, it's so good.
I really like how we got this kind of creepy old lady voice, but we got a little bit of that Slavic accent in there too, so you just get a good feel for her cultural background. It's awesome. Oh, and the recall, just the drop. As soon as that drop hits, it's like poof, and she's gone.
It's
And
so
look
good.
at the mortar and pestle working itself. That's some classic witchcraft.
Yeah.
The animation team did a great job on this character. Oh
Yeah,
my
there's a
gosh.
lot of like little flavor bits. Like I don't know if people were noticing earlier on where occasionally she'd reach out and grab this butterfly and just shove it into her mortar and start grinding it up.
Just mash it. Yeah. Oh yeah. We saw it a few times throughout the video today. So of course, you know, when you're expecting it, you don't see it. But when you never know, it'll show up at any time. But we definitely saw it a few times, and I'm sure we'll see it again.
For sure. All right, and while we've got you here, Pon, let's take a look at the recolors for Baba Yaga.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have 2 different recolors. We have the one you can purchase with Favor, and then we have, which is this one, the green one.
Nice.
Yep, so you get a different color theme to it, as well as if I go to the cabin, which I kind of left behind, it's
House
making its
changes
way.
colors.
It's making its way.
Look at it run down the
Here
lane.
he's coming.
Dude, there are sometimes in the
coming,
middle of the
Mom.
jungle and like the middle of the fog, you just don't see it, and all of a sudden like it pierces through the fog. It's genuinely creepy and mad.
Yeah.
And there's some more green highlights on it. Okay, so the cabin changes colors too. That is amazing.
Yep.
Oh, that's so good.
Oh, there's the butterfly. She was just about to
Yep.
grab it.
I moved. I interrupted
Yeah.
it. So we also got the other one as well, right?
the season ticket recolor.
Or Season Pass 2020. Yeah.
Season pass. My bad.
Yeah. So
To
yeah,
get the
if you guys
cabin
don't
out of the
remember-
ground. It doesn't like being spawned in the way that
No.
I'm doing it.
And it's
So-
a nice orange-red color.
Looks good. Yep. So every God released this year is going to get an additional limited recolor as a part of the Season Pass, and this one for Baba Yaga looks really awesome.
And then of course we also have our mastery skins, right?
Oh yeah. And these are going to launch with Baba Yaga. I know we started that trend, and I know players really appreciate it.
Also,
Now-
one thing that I didn't get to show off, and it looks a little bit weird because I'm switch classing the way that I am. When you first spawn, the hut actually spawns in front of you. So it'll actually have a little bit of, like, it'll be in front of wherever you spawn into the match.
That golden cabin.
Looks so good.
Golden and blue. Now, people were talking about it, but I don't know if anyone quite figured it out about the little teaser spoiler we did for Baba Yaga. Well,
yeah.
Now that you see her using all these potions, maybe they get it. But actually, it was a really rare chance to trigger her laugh when you drank a potion.
Yes.
A lot of people thought it was different maps or stuff like that. I don't know if anyone actually connected it. It has to do with drinking a potion.
Yeah, I don't think anyone connected the dots. That was a really fun teaser, and I know people were like, I hear Baba Yaga randomly in game. I don't know where it's coming from, but I'm getting freaked out.
Yeah.
I also love the coloration on the mortar and pestle.
Oh,
Just
the
looks
black
so
and
good.
gold. Legendaries are always my favorite. Black and gold is such a classic color combo.
Even on the gods that have diamond, I tend to use these legendaries.
Yeah,
But, the diamond looks really cool for her.
nice. Definitely love the colors on those.
And
Kinda like
she's got a house made out of diamonds.
Right? Yeah.
She's rich, huh?
So cool. And I mean, we could spend a lot of time just looking at this cabin. There's so many like little details on it, from like the weather vane and like the chimney to like this little side area and like the kind of like pottery and like the bones on the actual wooden fence parts. Like there's just so much on this cabin.
Yeah.
It's
and,
living, breathing character, really.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
literally
awesome.
breathing.
It is so cool. Yeah, our entire concept team and art team really killed it with this cabin, making it feel, like it has its own personality in game and like it's fighting alongside Baba Yaga on the battleground.
Well, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so cool.
Baba Yaga. I'm sure people are going to be stoked to play her on PTS when it goes up on Friday, right, Isaiah?
Yep, we are shooting for PTS to be live on Friday. Be sure to keep it locked on our official social media channels. We'll be sure to let you guys know when it goes up. We're definitely looking forward to seeing you guys get your hands on the Witch of the Woods, but the show's not over yet. We've got a live Q&A that is headed your way. Thanks so much for tuning in for the Baba Yaga reveal. We'll be right back after this quick break.
もう一度お願いします
Mods and Modesses, get ready for your favorite Smite show. No, not top 5 plays. It's time for Hey Zeus.
And hey to you, everybody. We've got a great show for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Baba Yaga, Witch o' the Woods. Oh, Baba. Do we not pay Raijin for electric this month? Not a fan.
Hello, dear. Would you like some Werthers?
Oh, no thank you, sweetie. She's so nice.
Good, because you're worthless.
Hey, wait, you're not Keanu.
Oh, Perrin, of course I'm not.
What the f***'s a Perrin? So this probably goes without saying, but are you my kid?
Oh, Perrin, of course not. Why, you have any spare?
Spare? I guess there's a couple I can think of. He stopped calling after his remodel.
Maybe we can come up with some sort of arrangement.
How about you take my last one, Persephone? She's been causing a lot of trouble lately.
Could I get the pomegranate on the side?
Hold on there. Would that make me Papa Yaga?
No, it just makes you a bad father.
I've invited an evil force to my show. How could I be so foolish? The gods have abandoned me. Now there's no hope. Anywho, how does it feel to be on the battleground of the gods?
Oh, dearie, it's just wonderful. Okay, can I be real for a second?
We are animated, so I don't know how to respond.
I'm only here because I need space to park this f***ing house.
Oh, that's yours? I thought we just got you a nice trailer.
Well, my reveal trailer was pretty good. The house, though, garbage.
Your house moves by itself? Talk about a mobile home! Oh, ugh.
Shut up. Actually, dear, my legs suffer from something called bony syndrome.
BS.
And with my f***ing garbage house, I had to find a new way to get around.
So you, ride a bull? Sounds like me driving in L.A.
Actually, it's a mortar. It's where I brew my potions.
Hey, kids at home, don't brew and bribe?
Oh, Perrin.
Sorry, is there a cat here?
What?
Because there's no purring around here.
I have a question for you.
Hey, that's my job.
Would you mind house sitting for a while?
Yes? He says hesitantly.
House! I beckon you! Get over here!
Wow, talk about a full house. Coming up next, we've got Hades with his tips for getting sun in an eternally dark underworld. Stay tuned and we'll be right back. So, Baba is you? Is you that Baba?
Shut up and give me your chip.
Give me the stun.
What's going on, everybody? I hope you guys enjoyed the update show. Tons of stuff going on, and those Jesus episodes, man, they crack me up every time. We're here to hang out with you guys and answer your questions. We are live. We've got chat up to hang out with you guys, and we'll also be taking some time to kind of go through some of the skins. I've got Pon Pon with me. How you doing today, man?
Good. I'm doing
Look like I
really
made
well today.
All right, there we go. Doing good,
Been
man.
really
We're super
excited to
excited.
see all the chat going and people will be excited about Baba Yaga. So
Awesome, cool. I've got a little bit of audio issues on my side, but we'll just get right into it. So we're here
You okay?
hanging out with chat, answer some questions. Yeah, I can hear you now. We're all good. So I'll give you a softball while we get ready. I know you've got the dev client ready to kind of show off some of the skins, but I had a couple people ask me, like, were there any favorite Baba Yaga stories that you had and kind of kept in mind when you guys were designing the character?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing we wanted to try and figure out was what kind of aspects of the lore we could. There's one story she has where this girl comes to visit her to try and get away from her like evil stepsister and stepmother, and Baba Yaga basically tortures this poor girl, but in the end gives her this skull lantern, and then uses that skull lantern to incinerate her entire family. Because that's the kind of help Baba Yaga brings.
Looks like we are running into some technical issues here, chat. If you just want to give us a couple seconds here. Yep, we'll go ahead and just transition into game. Pon's got the dev client up ready for you guys, and he's going to run through all the skins that we showed off earlier with the 3D model turnarounds. So it looks like he's got Baba Yaga set up first.
Ooh.
Looking good.
Ooh, are you able to hear me a bit better?
Yep, I can hear you a bit better now. You're coming in loud and clear.
Ooh. Still cutting out a bit for me.
Yeah, it's cutting out a bit on my end as well. We're still hanging out. Apologize for the audio difficulties, chat. Pon, if you can hear me, do you want to just kind of start going through the skins list? That way people can see some of the abilities and stuff. It looks like your video feed is coming in just fine. We're just having some audio issues here.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, let me pull that up real quick, and then I'll start going through them as best I can.
Cool. Sounds good.
Make
And
sure
chat, if you guys
get
have any questions,
all the cool
we'll
skins.
try to get to them as best we can, but maybe we can do like a blog post or something later on with some of the most asked questions here.
Okay, I got the list up. We'll start off at the top.
Yep. Yeah, let's start off at the top. So,
Crows.
yeah, I think the ones at the top are the ones that are going to be coming out next week as a part of the bonus update. This one's looking great. I see somebody asking, is there any Loki news? Did you miss the huge blog post that
that armor's
AJ
cool.
posted last week? We're actually moving forward with the Loki rework as planned. If you want to check out the Smite Reddit, AJ did a big blog post over there. And all the effects look super cool on the Sobek skin. Shout outs to Wolf Dog again. I know we work with him a ton, and he really kills it with the concepts. feathers look fantastic. Pon, if you can hear me, someone in chat is asking, can Baba Yaga's house body block?
Oh man, that's so good.
Oh, that ultimate is awesome. Cool.
It does have collision, yes. So if you're close, it can. It can't. If you're run away before you really even get to it.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure Protect passed through it.
All right, and I have a couple people asking about the Hell Tier 5. We actually had a meeting earlier this week with Concept Team. We reviewed a lot of the community submissions from the submission threads, and Concept Team is actively working on the concepts. No word on whether or not we've got something to reveal for you guys, but the concept phase, it takes a long time to get it right. But we'll be sure to let you guys know if we have updates on that. But Hell is your Tier 5 for the Odyssey.
Oh, his shirt changes colors.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. I love the way that's one of my favorite parts of Kernenos skins is seeing how the season shifts are going to change with this one there. Nice. Got some nice floral action going on there. And I wonder for the ultimate, what he transforms people into. Oh, nice little hedgehogs with the glasses. That's awesome. This skin is awesome. Definitely the GOAT. I think I actually helped name this skin too, so that's a plus. When are these skins coming out? These skins are coming out April 7th, next Tuesday, specifically for Kernenos and Sobek. They're going to be part of the Grim Omens event. So we've already released the first half of those skins. April 7th, they'll be available for you guys in game, or available if you guys checked out the update show there. But yeah, so a little bit less than a week for Kernenos and Sobek. And I think the next one we've got up is actually Susano. This is the Night of Storms one. This one was really awesome. Clans are still disabled. We have a post on the top of our Smite talking about some of the issues that we've run into with just the huge influx of players that have come in just due to everybody, practicing social distancing and staying at home in regards to the situation with COVID-19. So yes, clans are disabled for the foreseeable future. We've also got a couple other measures that we've taken to kind of ease strain on servers there. But we're working to get them back up as soon as possible. Just stay tuned to our official social channels for updates there. PTS, we're shooting for PTS to come up on Friday for you guys. Again, we're all working from home and stuff for Baba Yaga is still coming in, like even as of today. So we'll work to get that up on PTS for Friday. Again, just keep an eye out on the Smite Game Twitter. We'll be sure to let you guys know. Cool. Yeah. And it looks like we're actually going to wrap this up a little bit early, guys. We apologize for the technical issues we've got going on. But patch notes are up on smitegame.com right now. If you guys want to get a look at all of the content that's coming your way, we've got all the info on Baba Yaga's kit, all the card art for the skins, plus the balance and bonus balance that's coming out in the next few weeks for you guys. Really appreciate you guys hanging out. And again, we thank you for taking the time and hanging out with us. We'll see you guys next time.